Welcome to the Service MVP podcast, and my name is Joe Crisara, America's service coach. And I have with me one of my very best friends, Andrew Guthrie, who is with Allegiant Heating
Yep.
and Air. Is that?
Yep.
Thank you so much down in San Diego. And Andrew is a top-notch service provider in his heart. This guy is a bulldog who never quits. Andrew, thanks for being on the show here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, Andrew is going to give us the 3 keys to HVAC sales success that he's experienced. And Andrew has used the program that we teach. And Andrew, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with HVAC and how you got involved with the sales aspect of things?
All right. Yeah, I've been in the industry, coming up on 23 years. Originally, started at the bottom of the barrel, just like everyone does, a grunt installer. Got into a business with my family. So me and my two brothers actually started a business, had a very successful corporation, but just like most family businesses, things can get a little bit tense. So after about 13 years, that relationship ended. And I was more on the operations side. So I was doing, project management, installation management, running 2 warehouses, inventory, all that stuff. The reason that I got into sales after parting ways with, my company was because our sales guys simply made more than we did as owners every year. So
I gave you a clue. If you want to get some money made, you got to get into the sales aspect of it, right?
yeah, absolutely.
It's like the pro athlete of HVAC, the pro athletes of HVAC, I always say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it was fun. We were mentally prepared for that. We had some good business coaches, and they said, "Hey, you guys got to be prepared for your sales guys to make more than you if you want to grow the business." And they weren't lying. So that's why I got into sales, and it was a little bit of a rough start because there was no process. You don't have really great connections in the industry, but got connected with some people that just said, "Yeah, go out and sell jobs with absolutely zero training," and that turned out to be a train wreck. My closing rate was in the 20 percentile, average ticket about 12,500. Got on with a new company who actually introduced me to you. So that's how I got started with the process. And immediately after graduating, my closing rate went through the roof, and my average ticket went from 12.5 to 18.5, which was amazing just from simply following the process. I more fine-tuned the process over the next 2 years after that, and got my average ticket up to quite a bit. Just under 24, so it was about 23,500 was my average ticket. So now I'm kind of evolved because I just see that there's some needs. So now I'm more of a coach and mentor, and doing some sales and selling technician management training and implementing new policies and procedures to get everyone else on board, maximize every opportunity. So.
Well, Andrew, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for telling. I know he's a grinder. This dude, I know he got through he first found us on when COVID was in full stride. He was out there taking his lessons online, and then he brought those lessons into reality with real people in the real field. And definitely, it's a pleasure to have him here. Andrew, let's go over the 3 keys that you feel in your heart after all those years of experience with both family businesses, which you might need family therapy for that one. We'll leave that go right there. But we all do. We all have that. Everybody in their family's got things we love about them and things that we need help with. But nonetheless, let's talk about something we can control, which is the outcome of these calls. So right now, you said the first key that you said was the office staff, and make sure that they're on board with following the process first, because that's where I guess that's where the opportunity begins. You want to expand on that a little bit and why you think that's such an important factor, Andrew?
Yeah, so the guys that get out into the field need to have confidence that the office is setting them up for success and has their best interest in mind. I think that everyone has worked for a company, especially in San Diego, 5th largest county in the United States. So, I mean, when they send us out to the boonies and we drive for 20 or 30 miles, we want to make sure that we're not going to something that was really just a blown call or wasn't set up for success to begin with. So making sure that the office staff is on board, we're vetting the calls, we're prioritizing the calls, and not just kind of, flying by the seat of our pants and just scheduling whatever, whenever, is a huge step to the process.
Yeah, that is something that a lot of people don't realize. The culture, we talk about, hey, we need to build a good culture. That's kind of like a soft thing that people say, but truthfully, culture is built when one part of the team shows that they have care, respect, and support for the other part of the team. And if you don't do your job right, then you're showing a lack of care. Does that make sense there, Andrew? Could you expand on that a little bit, and how that can be frustrating, really not just to the office, not just to the field staff, but really to everybody? Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah. So, and you hit the nail on the head. I mean, of course, culture is everything, but it doesn't take a whole lot for that culture to go off the rails. So everyone has a job to do, and if not everyone's fulfilling that job to the best of their abilities and following a process that's in place that's going to lead to proven results with proven track records, the right policies and procedures in place, that culture is just going to go down the hill
Yeah,
very, very quickly, and it gets demoralizing. So.
Yeah, I guess if the field staff knows that the office staff has a process and they're not following it, then when you try and get the guys in the field to follow it, they're gonna say, well, why you come after me? They aren't even answering the phones the right way. They're not even dispatching the calls the way they're supposed to do it, because they're gonna hear what, the training is something that people kind of spills over into other different areas, and people need to know what to expect. So when you train a guy, they're going to get one call at a time. You're going to get the prioritized call. You're going to get these things like that. If you don't get it, then you're like, wait a second, you guys were saying I was going to get this way. And I think we've all worked there and been disappointed by the organization when it's not the part. And Andrew, you as one of the leaders, how's that bear onto you as a leader? How much responsibility does a leader take on stuff like that when it comes to getting that together?
Ultimately, I take full responsibility of that. So, a lot of people can do the good old finger pointing. I'm not going to point the finger at anyone if I don't have my act together and I'm not implementing the right policies and procedures. Of course, there has to be accountability on all fronts, but ultimately the leaders got to take the role. They got to take the responsibility and make sure that everyone's on board with the process. Have different options for what to do if people aren't on board with the process, just like you have trained me to do so well.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I never point the finger at anyone else. If the job's not getting done, it's because the leaders didn't have the right structure in place to begin with.
Yeah, or they didn't have the right training, the support, say, okay, the flip the switch, you guys. Today we're doing this, right? That's like sometimes people don't have the deadline even. It's like you can train it, you can learn it, we kind of practice it. All right, okay, today we go live. Like it's like the deadline. That's sometimes to me. What do you think about that, Andrew? About that kind of let's create a deadline when we do this stuff. Let's put this in place now. What do you think about that?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, my guys, they know, there's the schedule for the training that depending on where they're at with the process with you. And I just kind of let them know. It's like, hey man, during this process, we're pulling back that bowstring. But as soon as this process is done, you guys graduate, we're releasing that bow and it's go time. So they kind of know, and it's built up, and there's an expectation with clear guidelines and parameters for what to follow and what's expected at what time frame. So
Well,
absolutely.
and Andrew, thank you for saying that. I think it's really great. And Devin, so number two, I think you said is that to be determined to follow the process, because you can tell us a little bit about that. Obviously, it's easy to say follow a process, but there's so many temptations or people internally from the insert, and then for the external team, extra customers who try to drag us off track. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so to be honest, when I first went through your process, I had never really done any kind of formal sales training. And in my mind, with all the technical experience and everything that I had, I thought in my mind, there's no way in a million years I'm going to sell anything. There's no way this process could work. I simply followed it and was blown away at the results. So I haven't gone astray from that process. So it's so tempting to get back into the SEER rating, the tonnage, start saying
Hmm.
these stupid words that we use in the industry that the customers don't understand. They don't know what an inverter system is. They don't know what a two-stage
Yep.
variable speed 16 SEER system is. You're just talking over their head. They know what a mid-range system is. They
Hmm.
understand that.
Yep.
So following the process is huge. And yes, you're right. There's so many different temptations, and the way that we're trained, some people get trained with the no pressure or low pressure, and yeah, I'll just email you the quote. And that's great. I agree. You don't want to pressure people into doing something, but if you're not steering the ball the right way, you're not going to, when it comes to the end of that call and presenting options, that's the result you're going to get. So hanging in there, knowing the objections and following the process, focusing on the who as opposed to the what, and speaking a language that customers understand is crucial. So
Man, you're speaking my language now. I started thinking about it when you're saying all that, and I was like, there's really three things. It's the Internal people sometimes are telling us to do things different. Hurry on the call, get done with the call faster, or whatever. Then the
Hmm.
external clients are saying, "Hey, my wife can't be here," and all that kind of stuff. And then a lot of it is us. Like you've been 23 years. One thing I give Andrew special credit on is the internal inside yourself saying, "Oh, it's just so much more comfortable to go back to the old way." Talk about SCR and BTO, get the literature, read the literature upside down and things like that. Now, how did you break that pattern for yourself though, Andrew? Because I know you had your brain when we were going through that 1 week class, I see the wheels were spinning really hard and the smoke was coming out of your ears at the time. Remember that? I remember
Oh
when you first
yeah.
did. I remember when you first
Oh
did your
yeah.
first option. I remember when you first did your first option. She said, "Hey, look at this, Joe." I'm like, "Dude, that's like the opposite of what we're talking about. You got to get rid of that get that verbal packaging game." But I'm happy to hear you're supporting that now because before it was like, "Oh gosh, I got to tell this guy how far off he is." But you got it. You found. I'm happy that you're teaching the same thing that you now learned from me. But how did you overcome that internal, the dark voice in our head that says, "Man, this is like outside my comfort zone. It's not like I'm used to doing it for 20 years or whatever." Because I think we had probably 20 years in this game before you met me 3 years ago or whatnot.
Correct.
And then you're like, "Hey, I got to rewire 20 years and do it this new way." How did you overcome that?
This guy named Uncle Joe that I know kind of had to pound it in my head a couple times.
Uh,
I didn't know that day that we graduated from that class would go down in infamy, but I don't know if you remember or not, but well, actually, you do remember everything. But when
mhm.
I was the only guy that graduated that day, so
Yep.
hearing all the other people graduate and Joe kind of give people a peace of mind on how they weren't prepared and whatnot. And I was just glad that I'd asked you for advice beforehand. And then also when I got off track, because it was so easy for me to graduate, come out of the class gung ho, the first 3 months is awesome. And then I just went off the rails again and I couldn't figure out what I was doing. So you helped me with one of my calls and you kind of ripped me a new one, which I needed because I was in there saying SEER and tonnage and efficiencies and all this stuff again. I was like, what am I doing? So you helped guide me back onto the right path. And as soon as I corrected that, because like we just discussed, it's so easy to go back to your old ways of doing things. So
Mhm.
after correcting the error of my way, if you will, and just simply doing what you said, it was like, man, it really works because I'm only smart enough to listen to people that are smarter than me and have the experience and have the results. Some people are like, oh, you're a great salesman. I'm like, no, I'm just smart enough to listen and do what other people do that have the results that I want. It's that simple for
That's
me.
that's a great philosophy, and definitely it was an honor to help you with that. And assist you to get back on track. I got you. You took an exit ramp, and I got you right back on the main highway again. And that was a fun. It was good times because then actually the funny thing is I think I remember when I was seeing you were trying to present the options when you go back to that old school way, and I think I even heard you kind of look in your face when you're doing it on Zoom. I'm like, yeah, I think right now he realizes that this is all screwed up. Like, so I said, well, actually, I didn't. I don't think I had to tell you. You whipped yourself a new one. I said, yeah. So Andrew, what do you think about that compared to what we taught you? And he's like, gosh, yeah, I got this all screwed up. And you admitted I didn't have to tell you, as I recall. You told yourself. I just had to put the mirror in front of it and said, oh, is this the way we taught you, Andrew? So you're saying this is what you learned? No, it's not what I learned at all. It's like so. And guys, this is a good lesson though, because we all get out track. Even we do here at Service MVP. We have to constantly, remember that we are, we have to have that part of it. And the Service MVP way it has built in a little friction in the process where you're not always doing the same thing that you would think you would do. Like instead of saying, yeah, let's go. Hey, can I get this job done today? Well, John, I have to check my schedule first. A little friction like that, right? You have to remember those friction points, and those are the things that you come around to, Andrew, where it's kind of adapted the Uncle Joe way in that part of it. Tell us about that.
Oh yeah. So just creating a little bit of tension is always nice. I think one of my favorite ones from you is, when it comes to, indoor air quality control, and just simply asking people the uncomfortable question, which I get from you is, just things like, oh, so I assume that indoor air quality isn't a big, concern to you guys. And having the
Yeah.
people go, well, Of course it is. What are you talking about? So kind of creating those little friction moments and
It must
go,
be
oh, we'll
dust.
get back to that later. Yeah.
It must be dust free in here. Man, this house is so clean. It must be dust free. Are you crazy? There's dust everywhere. It's funny, a little friction there, right? That's always great there. All right,
Yeah,
now finally the third part. You
absolutely.
said bring it to a conclusion. That's the third thing you said is third key for you is bring every
Yep.
opportunity to put. So we go out there, we drive out the 20 miles out to the desert where we're going to go out there in San Diego County.
Mhm.
We got a lot of calls we got to do today. You're probably busy. Thanks for giving me this time, by the way, in one of the busiest months of the year doing this. And then you got to make sure that we take care of that opportunity. Tell us about that part of it and what impact that has to take care of that opportunity to bring it to a conclusion.
That is a big game changer. So um, not bringing every call to a conclusion, whether that call once again comes from service MVP, is having every call needs to result in a yes, no, or a follow-up being scheduled. And when you say a follow-up being scheduled, we don't mean I'm going to call you for a follow-up. No, that's not a follow-up being scheduled. And it's never the customer's responsibility to follow up with us who called us out there to provide them with a service. It's up to us to make sure that we get that call scheduled. The number one way is, of course, is to get an in-person follow-up. I forget the statistics, but it's out of control if you can actually get your foot back in the door, someone invites you back into their house. Giving the customer the opportunity to part as friends, even if they do tell you no, because sometimes they don't like to tell you no to their face. So at least communicating that with them. Or that call obviously resulting in a yes. If you do the process and you follow the process right, when it comes to the end of that call, bringing it to a conclusion with a yes, no, or a follow-up really isn't a problem.
That is
But
so awesome. So, although there is, truthfully, it is a very simple process. There's only three things. I would say there's three things you can. I publicly tell people. There's, yeah, sure, John. Are you interested or not? I'm interested. Okay, if you're interested, then there's three things we can do. Get the job done now. We can schedule it to come back and get the job done later, or you can come back and make your choice later. Which way you want to do it? Okay, just email it to me. Well, I could do that, but that would be bad service because then you'd be calling me. I wouldn't be having anything on the schedule. Now, if you don't want to do those three things, I can always withdraw my bid. You want to do that? You want to do that? That's that friction. That's that friction again,
exactly.
right? No, I don't withdraw. Don't withdraw the bid. I like you. Okay, if you like me, then we'd have to reschedule either to get the job done or get the job to come back and choose, or just come get the job done now. You could just do it now if you want to. So what should we do? I like that part of it. Andrew, so what would you say if you had to put a number on it? Just getting that part. If people only got that part alone, how much do you think sales would increase if you I actually have a number for you on that if you want to know? But tell me, what do you think the number is? What in your mind, what have you witnessed that the number would be? If you could just tell the guys in your team to say, hey guys, I don't care what we do, but we're going to bring this to a conclusion. Let's not leave any loose ends behind on every call. Tell me how much money or how much percentage do you think the growth that would achieve just by doing that?
Uh, from the growth percentage, it's going to be at least 10 to 20%. I would imagine off the top of my head with opportunity calls, that is with service calls, it's usually a lot higher, which that usually doesn't happen a whole lot. But on opportunity calls, if it's less than 10%, I'd be amazed.
Yeah, you know what? The service calls, we found that the average would go from about 60% up to 92% if they would complete the call now, rather than, I'll come back. Give me a call back when you're ready for the rest of it or something like that. Let's go ahead and put it on the schedule now, right? And then I seen on sales calls, the average closing rate by the average people around the country is about 26%. And
Wow.
then their closing rate goes up to over 65% when they do that. And a professional like you, if you do it, the average closing rate can go from that 50%ish where professional would be up to close to that 80%, 82, 84%, something like that. So it's a huge part of it there. And I think, man, you know what? I cannot argue with your three keys. You nailed it, buddy. This is going to be a premium podcast for everybody to listen to, and I definitely going to highly recommend this to everybody I talk to.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Joe. And just I really appreciate everything that you're doing for our industry. And I would just recommend everyone to listen to the people that have the results to get the results that you want. So.
Well, Andrew, this podcast will be featured in the Service MVP app. It's under our podcast section now, and you'll be boldly featured there. And you know the internet, Andrew, is forever. You know that, right?
Oh yeah.
You can't get rid of it, even no matter what happens. And I'd say one thing: no matter whatever happens, Andrew, there's nothing you can ever do to lose my unconditional friendship. because I've given that from day one. You've taken very good care of it, so I appreciate you doing that, Andrew.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here with you, buddy.
Have a good one, everybody. We will talk to you next podcast. Have a great one, everybody.